In my opinion, the most important reason for bulk buyers is time is money. When you think about like reselling, right? If you get like a bunch of sneakers or a bunch of Hellstar tees, how much time would it like realistically take for you to sell everything one by one? Then if you were to sell everything to one person, right? You want to buy high quantity and then be able to just sell it in high quantity. So your inventory goes in and out the door just like that. Just very, very simple, very fast. Time is money. You want bulk buyers because you don't want to spend too much time having to sell each thing individually. Another extremely important thing is opportunities. So what do I mean by that? Have you ever like looked at a release and you were like second guessing yourself? You're like, I don't know if this is gonna break, or I don't know how I would be able to sell this, or you decide to just buy one or two of the item just because you're not sure. I think a really good example would be the Jordan 4 Military Blues, like probably one of the most hyped up sneaker of the year, yet there were a lot of people who weren't able to sell them for a profit. However, what if you had a buyer who was like, okay, buy everything, buy all of it, purchase it from you at a profit after taxes and fees? You would then have zero doubts if it's a reliable buyer that you've worked with in the past, and that won't screw you over. You won't have really any issues with just buying as many as possible. Furthermore, some bulk buyers might ask you to buy some bricks, which other people might not have the opportunity to do so. Just think about all of those drops that you passed on, and you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, why is everyone else going for this? Why did you buy like 100 of these tees, which you don't make any money on StockX? If you sell on StockX, like, you can't make money off of those tees, right? That's because they have buyers. They can go for a release that you can't go for just because you don't know where to sell it at, right? Some of these things are what we're going to cover today. And it's very, very important to get buyers. So if you don't have any buyers of your own, please pay close attention. The only downside with trying to find buyers is that it has a somewhat high initial time investment. What do I mean by that? Is that you have to put in a lot of work at first. However, all you need is just really a few reliable bulk buyers for you to make your reselling more profitable and 1,000 times easier. So you have to put in that work at first, but once you find those few reliable bulk buyers, you can take your foot off the pedal a little bit. So that's the good news, but you do have to put in the work at first. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hey man, I joined Polar Chefs because I just want to click on a few buttons and then, make some money, right? Like, yeah, I totally understand, but this is really the best way to do it. You have to put in the work at first at least, and then all it takes is just a few buttons. Dump your inventory to your bulk buyer, make money, inventory in and out. That's what we want. So how do you actually find bulk buyers? Now, it's actually quite simple. Some people might be like, oh, easy for you to say, Mr. 100 whatever K subscribers on YouTube. I've got some clout, right? It's easy for me. However, even before I started my YouTube channel and stuff like that, I already had like a few bulk buyers. The way I found it is actually quite simple. It's just a result of making more direct sales. So what do I mean by direct sales? So direct sales is if you sell directly to somebody without using like really a external platform, like a third party platform. So like eBay, Mercari, Goat, StockX. Like eBay and Mercari is like kind of technically direct, but that's not how really you're gonna find bulk buyers from my experience. So it would be like if you found a buyer from Instagram, or if you found a buyer from X or Facebook or Discord, making more direct sales using these platforms rather than your usual marketplaces will result in more repeat customers, and it's going to result in more people helping you build your sales history. I'm going to talk about legit check posts in a few slides from now, and also it's going to help you build your connection. From doing this, basically at the time I was selling on Facebook Marketplace, and I just kept selling on there, selling my inventory on there. Local sales are like super annoying, right? However, out of the few people that I did have local sales with, a few of them were bulk buyers, and that's how I just ended up with that connection. I met up with multiple bulk buyers. So just from doing like local deals, and it turns out that they're bulk buyers, like, okay, whenever I get new inventory in, I just hit them up like, hey, do you need this? And then ask the other bulk buyer, hey, do you need this? And then if they both say yes, I can have them like, I guess, I'll try to outbid each other seller. In any case, I have buyers for my items, right? That's the goal. However, one thing I do have to warn you of is that you do have to step outside of your comfort zone. I understand how easy it is to just list something on eBay or list something on StockX or something. It's like, it's so easy. But just for a moment, until you find buyers, please step outside of your comfort zone. You're gonna have to interact with people. You're gonna have to face rejection. You might even feel stupid. You might feel like you're annoying, but you should not let that deter you. There is no growth in comfort. There is growth in failure, and there's growth in making mistakes. So, in fact, you should try to shift your mindset to where it's like, oh, you should look to make mistakes, because when you make mistakes, that's really when you learn from your mistakes. So never feel bad about failure, never feel bad about making mistakes, because that really is when you grow. So first up, let's talk about Discord. One thing that you should know, if you don't know yet, we do have a marketplace in here. So we have a channel called Bulk Buyers. We have KG Kicks, who posts what they buy sometimes. We also have Vic, but he hasn't posted in a while. It's possible that we just booted him, I don't know, but you can use KG Kicks to your advantage. We might even bring in some other bulk buyers, and the reason why it is like a little bit empty, right, is we want to make sure they're like absolutely trusted. We won't say, oh hey, just buy from this random dude, and then after that they never send you money, right? We would rather have 0 bulk buyers in our bulk buyers channel than have someone who might potentially scam you guys. Another thing about Discord, after you've spent 3 months within Polar Chefs, you unlock full access to the marketplace. So you will have want to buys, your want to buy channel, want to sell channel, and then you want to kind of utilize that to your advantage. And now this specifically, what I'm talking about, isn't bulk buying, obviously, right? However, this is direct sales. Because of direct sales, you can then use this to help build your sales history. And what do I mean by sales history? So you want to have a pinned legit check post on your Instagram, and whatever direct sales you do, you want to ask them to comment on it. So this one is an example from Sold Out Souls, one of our staff members, and he has this awesome pinned legit check post with a lot of people just praising how awesome he is, right? How quick he is with shipping. And again, you want to do good business. You want to make it as hassle-free for your customers as possible, and a potential to have repeat customers as well. So although this isn't a bulk buyer thing specifically, you still want to use this, because this is going to help you later down the line when I start to get into the outreach. So an outreach is basically when you hit up a bunch of different possible buyers, and if they go to your page and your page is just empty and you don't have any legit checks, then they're going to be like, who the hell is this guy? Let me just ignore him, right? And you don't want that to happen. You want some good sales history, and you want proof of that on your Instagram page. So the way you kind of want to treat this is kind of like a EXP bar, right? Like a video game almost. The more legit check posts you have, the easier it will become for you to actually reach out to potential buyers and them actually replying to you. So this is very, very important. Just as a side note, you do not need to have 5,000 followers to have good reputation. You don't need to be ultra famous to have good connections and good bulk buyers. I just wanted to point out, just in case creating an Instagram makes you feel like you have to be an influencer, you don't really have to. You just got to put in a little bit of work. In relation to increasing your reputation on your socials, I need all of you guys to create a business card. This isn't my business card. This is my wife's business card. It's just as an example. She puts this in every single order that she sends out. And if you're doing local sales, you want to include this in the sneaker box, right? You just want to get this out to as many people as possible, to get them to follow you, to get them to actually interact with your content, and I'll get into content a little bit later, but this is very, very important. This is just going to cost you it's honestly not that expensive. If I were to take a guess, this should be less than $20 to get you 100 business cards, right? And it's really going to go a long way. Okay, so what's next? The next thing is you can go to your local stores to see if they buy directly. Now, so how do you actually do this? You just simply search for sneaker stores near you, right? So when I did this search, these are the ones that popped up, and then you can message them on Instagram, or you could just go directly in person, hey, are you guys buying anything, right? Now, again, this might be stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? You actually have to go out and talk to people. This is for your growth. You have to network, and no matter what business you're in. At the very least, send them a message on Instagram. Hey guys, are you buying? Here's the caveat. I don't actually recommend this too much. Selling directly to local stores. Every time I have done this, I've gotten lowballed to oblivion. I would literally be able to sell for a higher profit on StockX quick sale. But you never know, right? So you can build like a relationship with stores, and they might start to offer you higher prices. So in my opinion, if you're gonna go through local stores, it would be better to just consign with them if you're able to. If they lowball you, just ask if you can consign with them, and it could be like a good consignment spot for you. Having more options to sell your inventory is never a bad thing. Okay, the next thing you can do is Facebook groups. The way you would do it is you would go to facebook.com/groups, and then you want to search for like a sneaker group and then your city. So like a sneaker group within your city, a sneaker buying selling group. And you want to join as many of those as possible. And then you want to then create want to sell posts for whatever items that you're selling. And then you also want to look for want to buy posts. So you want to like do a search within the actual group. Just to be clear, this is very different, not that different, but this is different from just posting your stuff in your local Facebook marketplace. You should be doing both realistically. You should post on Facebook marketplace and also post within your local Facebook group. Do some meetups, and then hopefully you run into a bulk buyer eventually. Now we go back to Instagram. How do you actually find people who are buying stuff on Instagram? So I've noticed some people were having trouble. Some people were messaging me like, hey, I'm not finding anything when I look it up on Instagram. However, you can find stuff if you look it up on Google instead, because Google will show like the search results for both their bio and their posts. So it's gonna take their metadata. Doing it through Google would be a lot easier, and then you can DM them on Instagram. So I did a quick Google search, buying Hellstar Instagram, and we can already see the top 2 results of people like saying, oh, like we are always buying like Hellstar or whatever. So you want to do that, and you just want to reach out to as many people as you can, as many buyers as you can. You could just have a copy paste message. Hey, I see that you're buying streetwear. Would you be interested in any of my, and then insert whatever it is that you're selling, right? It doesn't hurt to, try and message as many buyers as you can. And this is going to be kind of like a numbers game, and you're going to have a lot of people who ignore you. Lots and lots and lots of people who ignore you. Think about your goal. Your goal is to just find like a few bulk buyers who are willing to buy everything that you purchase. If you're able to just go through like a month of messaging, okay, this is like a little bit of an extreme, but it's not actually as hard as it seems. If you go through a month messaging 10 buyers every day, asking if they want to buy stuff, dude, it's gonna be impossible for you to not find a bulk buyer by that time. The only way you're gonna fail is if you have no legit check posts, if your page looks super sus and you just look like a scammer. Like, you want to make your page nice, right? You want to put a little bit of effort into it. That's the only way you could screw it up. But otherwise, if you put in the work for the outreach, then you are going to find multiple bulk buyers. And this is going to be your bread and butter, really, is the outreach. Because I wouldn't really expect you guys to have like thousands and thousands of followers where people are messaging you. However, I am going to go over that right after this one. But yeah, outreach is going to be like your main bread and butter. Just make sure your page looks nice. Have some soul in your page. You know what I mean? You want them to get the impression that there's an actual human being behind whoever's running that Instagram page. What if you want to do it the other way around, right? What if you want buyers to come to you this time? So that's what I'm going to be talking about now. It's a little bit more difficult. We are going to get into like the territory of you kind of like being an influencer or whatever. How do you like actually get followers? How do you get people to like look at your page? The idea behind it is you just make Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels is like one of the best ways to go viral on Instagram. And what you want to have in mind when you think about creating content is, what kind of value can I bring to my viewers? So typically these would be entertainment, education, or relatability. Usually when I do it, I try to combine any of these 3. However, just any one of these should be good enough. And here are some content ideas: vlogs, live cops, unboxings, edits, right? Here's an idea that I haven't seen done, right? Is drop recaps. I haven't seen someone do like drop recaps of someone just going over like, oh hey, this is how the drop went. This website decided to drop late, and as a result, their bot protection got screwed up and stuff like that. Like I haven't seen anyone do that. So if you want to, boom, there's a really good idea right there. Here's a caveat to this, is that not every post is going to be a banger. When you're starting out, you're going to get a shit amount of views. You're going to get 20 views, 50 views. You might even get like less views than this. And oftentimes it's going to feel like, bro, I'm putting in all of this work just for no one to look at my stuff, right? It can be very, very discouraging. But let me tell you, everyone has to start from somewhere. You're not gonna have a banger every single time. And by the way, it doesn't even matter how much effort you put into your videos. You might still end up with these amount of views, and you just have to, it's just part of the process, you know? You just gotta trust in the process. The one thing that is very important is that you post regardless of how many views you get. In being consistent, you also have to be consistent with improving your content. At the end of the day, it's not that complicated. So to give you my just quick tips on how to create like a really good Instagram reel is, number one, have like a really good hook to get your viewers to want to actually look at your stuff, and number two, bring value to them. And that's really about it. Of course, you can also do other stuff like shareability of the content or how engaging the content is, things like that. But if you have a good hook and you bring value to your viewers, realistically, that's all you need. Okay, so let's talk about wholesaler. So for this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to give you the wholesaler that I sold to in the past. I sold a lot of Yeezy slides to this guy. I haven't used him in a while, so I don't mind like just giving them out. But yeah, Oscar Souls is his Instagram. If you have like bulk inventory that you want to sell to him, then you could just shoot him a message. They're very easy to work with. This does require you guys to actually interact with other people. This requires failure. Like if you post reels and stuff, you're gonna end up failing. No, like it's possible you get 0 views on something, or you just tell yourself like, what the hell am I doing this for? It's possible that you walk into a store and then you ask them, oh, hey, are you guys buying? And the store says, ha, look at this idiot. Look at this idiot look at this stupid reseller. It's possible that they do that. And there is going to be like a lot of shame and emotion in that, right? Nobody wants to be called stupid. Nobody wants to feel like a noob. But you can't let that deter you. You can't let that deter you from actually growing. Whatever worst case scenario it is in your mind, I promise you, it's not as bad as you would make it out to be, right? Wrap up this whole section is just make more direct sales, make more connections, and it doesn't take that many bulk buyers. Remember guys, again, all you need is 2 to 3 reliable bulk buyers for you to make your reselling 1,000 times easier. How do you ship bulk to random people? I'm worried that you will scam me. Very, very good question. When you're first starting out, I would highly recommend doing PayPal invoice. So PayPal invoice takes around like a 3% fee, but this 3% fee is kind of negligible, and you also have the option of having the buyer pay for like the 3% fee. However, if you are starting out and you don't like have a lot of referrals, then most likely they might give you a hassle when it comes to like payment or whatever. Because for me, I'm at a point where I can just be like, oh hey, I have like a lot of clout, just pay me first before I send the stuff, right? If you do not have like the luxury of doing that, then you can always start with a invoiced 3% fee. Now, the important part about this is that you have to know how to create a safe invoice. You basically have to detail everything that you are selling, like any flaws regarding the items, all of the sizes, stuff like that, quantity, SKU, condition. You want to include all of this within the invoice. Another thing that you want to do is, if you're scared of getting scammed, because people can do like chargeback scams, you know, even after you get paid, it can be a little scary, because it could be like a month from now, they're like, oh, hey, this shoe is like a wrong size, and then they file a dispute. So here's what you do. You record packing the order. So what I would do is I would just have like an iPhone Like I just record with the iPhone, and then after that, like before I put each shoe inside of the box, I typically don't go that overboard. I just show like the boxes and the sizes, like just packing the inventory, right? And then after that, I also record myself showing the shipping label that I'm going to use, and then putting it on the box, and then taping the box. I record that entire process if I'm a little bit like untrusting. So that's gonna be like when you first start to try to find a bulk buyer. That might have to be like the safest way to go about it, is to do the PayPal invoice, creating the invoice correctly. Also, another thing I forgot to mention is creating a terms of service, including no refunds, no returns, etc. However, the good news is that typically when buyers start to trust you a little bit more, you can start to ask them, oh, hey, would it be possible we could just do Zelle so that we can avoid fees? After you do a certain amount of big transactions with them, more likely they're going to be more open to the idea of just, paying you first, or you could be more likely to the idea of you sending out first and then getting paid out later. As long as you guys are both, trying to do good business, then it shouldn't really be that much of an issue. Just some quick things to keep a note of. So here are my favorite payment methods, okay? So my favorite payment methods are Zelle and Apple Pay. These two are the hardest to charge back on. So if you want to make absolutely 100, it's never going to be 100% sure, by the way. If you want to be like 99% sure that they're not going to charge back on you, Zelle and Apple Pay is the way to go. And obviously Cash, the other payment methods, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, you can get charged back on these. So I would be a little bit more hesitant to use these unless you're using PayPal invoice. So I'm gonna just specify your PayPal, friends, and family. Like you ideally want to avoid these because they can like literally just go to their bank and say, hey, I didn't authorize this transaction, and then you get your ass charged back on. If you decide not to go with any of these, then 100% do like PayPal invoice. That 3% fee is going to be worth it because it has both buyer and seller protection. If you record evidence of you packing the order, if you if you create the invoice properly, the risk of you actually getting scammed is very, very little. Because what if they say, oh, hey, I didn't authorize this transaction, right? Then you just show them the screenshots, right? And then you show them the video of you packing the order and you putting that same tracking number that is then put into the PayPal invoice is then on the video that you submit to PayPal. Then PayPal is most likely going to side with you. So this is how you keep yourself safe. When it comes to bulk buying, we are dealing with thousands of dollars here. It's not it's a little bit spooky, I'm not going to lie.